Good morning. I'm Reverend Jack Elliott, and I'm so glad you joined us for this special podcast. What we're going to be looking at today is the work known as A Course in Miracles. This practice of daily lessons and meditating and reading has served many in our spiritual community. We recently started a Course in Miracles study group that meets every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Zoom. And you can link in via our website at elderprideforme.org. So today I wanted to introduce you to our Course in Miracles study group. Today we are looking at lesson 15. So I'm going to ask that if you'll just close your eyes right here, right now, and get centered in where you are, and then I will take you into today's podcast. Have a good day. So in this lesson 15 from A Course in Miracles, our quote for today is, "My thoughts are images that I have made." And as I was preparing for today's lesson and kind of looking just at this affirmation for today, one of the things that I see, one of the things that I know, and one of the things that I understand is this affirmation, this quote is here to spark an idea in our thinking. So if I contemplate, if I discern that my thoughts are what I imagine, what do I mean by that? So I was sort of praying on it and thinking about it, and I asked Spirit to kind of give me an insight as I went to bed last night. And I had a dream. And in this dream, I am in my front yard of my house waiting for a city inspector to come by to inspect something about the house. And as I am standing there, I see this older gentleman with suspenders and a tie and wire-rimmed glasses and kind of a big hat approaching, and he's got his little metal clipboard, and it's like, okay, this must be the city inspector that I want, or that I'm encountering, that I'm going to be working with. And he walks up and he calls my name, and I go, yeah, no, I'm from the city, and da-da-da-da-da, saying what it is that he would say. And in my moment, in my imagination, in my dream, I heard myself say, I don't want to work with him. I'd rather work with a woman. And I just said that. And all of a sudden, that character in the dream morphed into an older woman, slim in nature, same keyboard. And suddenly she picked right up with the question and said, well, all right, now, this is a 2-bedroom or is it a 3-bedroom? Was asking me a question about the house. And I said, well, let me show you. And we turned to walk towards the house. And as we turned and walked towards the house, I noticed that the garage was on the wrong side of the house. And I thought, the garage is on the wrong side of the house. And then suddenly, poof, the garage is on the other side of the house. And I asked her the question, do you want to go in through the garage or do you want to go in through the front door? Then I had the thought, wait a minute, my house doesn't even have a garage. Why am I dealing with a garage on this house? And so it was like that just erased, and we walked in the front door. So I want to offer that illustration of the dream to remind us our thoughts are the images that we have made up. They're as we make them. So everything we see is what it is that we perceive. So let's explore lesson 15 a little bit more. And Avery, I'm going to ask if you will read the first paragraph, and then we'll pause and kind of talk about it, and then we'll go on.
It is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see them. This is how your seeing is made. This is the function you have given your body's eye. It is not seeing, it is image making. It takes the place of seeing, replacing vision with illusion.
So with that, what does that say to you, either one of you? What, or my little metaphor, my little story, either one of you, what thoughts does it bring to mind?
Well, it's almost like whatever is there is um, is there with well the preceding lessons. Whatever is there with nothing added to it, and so everything we're perceiving, we're filtering it through our own screen. So it morphs into something that our screen has in it. Maybe it filters for color. For example, or just as an illustration, maybe it filters for color. Maybe it shades of color, something different from what is actually there. And so everything gets to be askew or different from the actuality.
So think about the opportunity of what I would say a mother who has a child that's in trouble with school or not exactly operating for their highest and best, and she just chooses not to see it. So, have we ever had this opportunity in our life to change the image and see only the good, or to see what we want to see in a relationship, in a work situation? Could that apply here?
It could.
Oh
I
yeah.
think we see. I think we see exactly what we want, the way things we want them to be. So we don't look at the actual image. We just put something else on it so that it's either better than it should be or not as good. It's what we want to see is what we put out there.
And I think I would add to it that maybe it's not necessarily. I'm having trouble with the word want
Mm-hmm.
because I think
Okay.
that in our God consciousness, we would love things to be perfect. I think that we see, well, like we're saying, we see according to our history what our expectation is, and so, and that our expectation is not necessarily what we would. Okay, Avery, I'm gonna just say what we desire to see,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Okay.
because I don't want to refute what you're saying, and I just would tweak it a little bit and say we see what we what our history has told us about these situations. Because when I was working in the school system, that happened a lot. That a kid would have problems at school, and we call the parents in, and they just would it would look like denial because they just could not see what we were seeing in the child. And a lot of times I found out that history was playing a part because the parents also had problems. The ones who were the most intractable about correcting their kids' behaviors were the ones who had history that they also struggled with school and they also had difficulty with school. And what they brought was a seeing that was very different, and it was not their desire, but what they wanted to see. They wanted to see a successful kid. So even if he wasn't successful, according to our perception, they saw him as not needing or her not needing remediation or correction.
Mm-hmm. A teacher once said, when studying this particular lesson in the Course in Miracles, was that we are incapable of seeing anything that we haven't already imagined.
Right.
And one of the things that, when you look at a small child and how a small child is It looks like they're just amazed with everything new. That first candle flame flicker, or that first butterfly, or that joy that resonates on their face. We, because we're jilted, could look and go, oh no, they're seeing it for the first time. And this particular teacher offered the idea, what if they're seeing what they've always imagined for the very first time? So, like, if they came back to this lifetime, this time, with the fondest memory of butterflies, and then when those butterflies finally show up, it's like, oh, wow, look at that. So it's not seeing something brand new, it's recognizing something that I always imagined could be there, is an idea to contemplate.
Yeah.
Saundria, would you read our next paragraph?
This introductory idea to the process of image making that you call seeing will not have much meaning for you. You will begin to understand it when you have seen little edges of light around the same familiar object which you see now. This is the beginning of real vision. You can be certain that real vision will come quickly when this has occurred.
So that if you think about seeing a person's aura, and I call it many times in my life reading the room, or looking at a person as they enter a room or they come into encounter with you. You're perceiving those soft edges. You're picking up the energetic that is around them. And are they carrying a good energy around them? Or are they bringing forth an image and an experience, an energy rather than an image of, ooh, these edges look like something that's unsafe to me, or these edges look like something that is safe to me. And when you start to see the soft edges and you start to see, you're bringing in all of your senses of, do I feel safe here? Thoughts? Avery, let's continue on in our reading.
Okay. As we go along, you may have many light episodes. They may take different forms, some of them quite unexpected. Do not be afraid of them. They are signs that you are opening your eyes at last. They will not persist because they merely symbolize true perception, and they are not related to knowledge. Those exercises will not reveal knowledge to you, but they will prepare the way to it.
So being open. And if we take, with what we teach here at ElderPride, if we look at those 5 agreements that we have adopted as values, this really speaks to me to the 5th agreement. Listen and discern. Watch. Notice what you notice, and discern why it is that you think that you noticed that. Our next paragraph, Saundria.
In practicing the idea for today, repeat it first to yourself and then apply it to whatever you see around you, using its name and letting your eyes rest on it as you say, this blank is an image that I have made. That blank is an image that I have made. It is not necessary to include a large number of specific subjects for the application of today's idea. It is necessary, however, to continue to look at each subject while you repeat the idea to yourself. The idea should be repeated quite slowly each time.
So that's our call to action today. That's taking that opportunity to discern one step further. I had a teacher once say to me, it's almost like if you're standing in your living room and you're looking out the front window, and your front window is only 6 foot wide. But as you look out that front window, You see the images of everything that's in front of that 6 foot window. But what you do not see is what's just to the left or what's just to the right. When we are willing to expand the window, we see the edges. We see what might have created or made manifest or shaped or influences those images that is right in front of us. So as we're on our spiritual journey, as we're looking to grow in this opportunity, we always want to actively be seeking to expand our vision, to expand what it is that we notice, what it is that we see, what it is that is before us. And as the exercise say, ponder, discern. Why do I see it that way? Why do I see it that way? Avery, our next reading.
Wait a minute. Is it?
Although
you will obviously not able to apply the idea to very many things during the minute or so of practice that is recommended, try to make the selection as random as possible. Less than a minute will do for the practice period. If you begin to feel uneasy, do not have more than 3 application periods for today's idea unless you feel completely comfortable with it, and do not exceed 4. However, the idea can be applied as needed throughout the day.
All right. So I'm going to repeat one more time our thought of the day. My thoughts are images that I have made. And so we have in our daily practice today that opportunity to really take a look at why it is we notice what we notice, and to really be with that. What is this noticing here to teach me? What is this awareness? It also gives us a wonderful opportunity to slow down our experience of how we move through our life, to take the time to notice things. Have we created our environment? Do we have a belief of chaos? And therefore, when we look upon our room, our home, we make manifest chaos? Or have we awakened with the intention, today I will see calm, today I will see beauty, today I will see peace? And then we're not surprised when we start to see that flower with the new bud on it, or that wonderful little treat that's been left for us that we didn't even notice was there. So it's this practice of listening and discerning what the universe is revealing to us, and then when we notice it, notice that this is an image of our own creation. Anything in closing today, Avery?
I'm just sort of, thinking about my thoughts or images that I have made. There's something about that is still ringing in my head. That sort of, has me thinking that, some of what we desire to see is what we see, and not what's actually there sometimes. And I'm still going through that in my head now, just thinking about that idea. So yeah, it stays with me.
That's the lesson of the day. Good with that. Saundria.
Well, I was just thinking, I'm looking here at a photograph that I made. I'm doing pictures of flowers. And the analogy is, what I'm seeing is just like me taking a picture. And so my reality is this picture, but that's not the actual flower. The actual flower is somewhere else, out of the scope of my picture of it. And so when I'm seeing, I'm always seeing a picture of something and not the actual thing. And I like the way that these lessons are done, and they're so gentle. They're just like, don't tax yourself, don't do too much of this, don't, as the old song used to say, don't make the sound of your own wheels drive you crazy. So take it easy, So I'm just liking the gentleness of this of the teachings and how the lessons are presented.
All right. Well, I want to thank the two of you for being with me today to help me teach today's lesson. And, others listening to it, we would love to hear what you think about it. Any comments, be sure to drop your comments in the boxes below on whatever social media platform you might be receiving this in today. And until next time, we thank you for joining us for Lesson 15 from A Course in Miracles.